My name is Alvaro Soto, and my OS is called AlOS.
AlOS was built on the idea of having multiple layers to control the OS. The main three layers in my OS are the user layer, the supervisor layer, and the system layer.
Each layer has its own functionality. So the first layer that we have is the user layer.
In the user layer, the user interacts with the OS by invoking a set of predefined commands.
The second layer is the supervisor call, and we get this by trying to run a command on the user layer.
In the supervisor call layer, an interrupt is triggered to fulfill the command. How do we do this? As we can see over here in the graph, we call the fcreate command, which is going to try to create a file with the name test. We take this information to a supervisor assembly code. There we determine that what we're trying to do is a supervisor call to the fopen. We pass all this information to the SVC interrupt handler. Over there, we're going to take the struct, which is going to hold our variables in argument v, and it's going to pass them to SVC handler in C. There is where we decide to which system call method to go to complete this command.
Finally, we get to a system call layer, or the system call, and we get here right after the supervisor call layer.
The system call layer or the system call is the middleman between the OS commands or actions and the systems and subsystems in the OS. For my final project, I decided to implement user credentials. When my OS first starts, it's gonna request the user to provide a username. In this case, we will try with admin, and then it will request the password. I implemented this little nice feature that it will hide the password, and it will just display these characters instead of the actual letters. I also made this a user command. Once the user is logged in, he has access to the OS. We use an admin credentials, so that means we have access to all the features of the OS. And we can see a list of the commands supported by the OS by using the help command. Now, another feature that I added to the OS was being able to create, modify, and delete user credentials. We can access the list of current users by typing in the command list users, and it will display a table of all the users that I created right now. Now, as we can see, we have the ID, we have the username, we have if the user is an admin or has admin rights or not, and then we see the password. Now, this command is only accessible if the user has admin rights. Also, we can try and create another user. Create user. We have to pass in a username, in this case will be test user, and the password. We get a feedback, the credential created successfully, and then we can go and run the command again, list users. And there we see our new user. And as we can see, the user doesn't have admin rights because by default, every single user that is created doesn't have admin rights. Now, if we want to modify the user and give him admin rights, we can actually do it. For this purpose, we will create another user. Now, to give a user admin rights or to remove them from a user, I created a command called make admin. This command takes two parameters. One, which is the username, and the second one, which could be a 0 for removing the writes, or 1 to give the writes. We get the user feedback, and then we run the command again. Now, as you can see, we actually have admin rights. But let's find out if we actually have. First of all, we will log off. Then we will try to log in with another credential. In this case, I will try to run with the credential with the ID number 2, test user. And the password. There we go. Now, let's see if we can try to run a command that only an admin can run. For example, this user. We get an error. We cannot run that command. Let's say memory map. We get an error. We cannot run that command. Now, if we log off, and let's try to log in with the credential with ID number 3, test2. And now let's try to run the command. We can actually run it, and we get the table with all the credentials. Now, let's delete a credential, because this user that we're logging right now, which is test2, has admin rights. That means he can actually delete credentials. So let's do to the user, test user, get the feedback, and it's now deleted. Now if we go and display all the users, it doesn't exist anymore. Some of the features that I added to my OS are the following. For example, high text. This command that I added will it won't display the characters that the user types, but it will display an asterisk instead. And to disable the command, we have to type the same command again. Another feature that I added was a hierarchical file system. We can have folders and folders inside folders. So for example, if we run the command dir, we get all the files in the current folder. And right now, as we can see, it will display the current folder name on top of the cursor. So if we run, for example, make dir test folder 1, we create the folder. If we go inside, we're inside the folder by running the command cd. If we run dir, we won't have anything because there's nothing currently in there. If we try to create another folder and we run dir, we have it there. If we try to navigate to it, we successfully navigate inside of it. We can also navigate back. Here we are. Some other features that I added to my OS are, for example, one of them is the error log. So if we try to log in as a regular user and then we try to run this command, we get an error because that's only for admin users. If we log off and we actually log in as an admin, we can see the error log list. And the error log list will just display the username the user that tried to run the command, the error code, and the error message. Also, I added this little nice feature that will indicate what command was trying to run. Another command that I added was the clear command. It's called the clear. Now I will demonstrate the multitask command using different users. So So first of all, let's log off. And let's log in again. There we go. Now let's run the command. And as we can see over here, the LED is blinking. We can go ahead over here and type something. It will show that we're typing. And if we press the push button, it will show that it was pressed. Let's do it again. There we go. And let's exit. Good. We're back. Now let's log off. And let's log in as a guest user, which doesn't have any admin rights, but is able to run the multitask command because there's no harm to the OS by running it. Run it. We see that the LED is blinking. We come over here and we type something. And there we go. We type in. And then let's press the push button. And there we go.
The second part of my final project was to file and folder permissions. The way that I did this was by extending on the file system.
Now I will demonstrate the file and folder permissions. So let's see, we have a file already there, which is text file. Let's create another one. I've created text file 2, and let's change the permission for both of them. Let's change using the command file per text file. Let's put this only right, and then file per text file 2. No permissions. Let's create a new folder called makedir new folder, and let's change the permission using the command folder per new folder closed. Okay, now let's see the users. This user, let's use the guest user, which is a regular user. Log off. Then we go link with login. Let's see, we have the files and the folders. Let's try to with the text file 1. Fopen text file 1 with permission. We do not have permission to perform the desired action. Let's create another user. Users. Let's see. Create user. Test, and let's give him admin permissions. Make admin test. Okay. Now let's log off. Let's go in as test, and let's try to perform the same actions. For example, fopen text file. Let's do a read and write. There we go. It's open. If we put F put C, A, there we go.